Fuck. Did y'all see on the? Okay, it was on TikTok, right? So apparently, they were doing a Zoom class, and this girl thought that the fucking she was muted. Her video was off. She thought she was muted, and she's having sex with her boyfriend. And you hear it. The entire class hears it over Zoom, and they're like, forgot what her name was. It was Emily. They're like, "Yo, Emily, that's like hella disrespectful, man." Like, yo, Emily, and then people are like, "Emily's out here living her best life. Don't fuck it up."
Getting that COVID dick.
That co-dick.
That co-dick. She put the D in COVID.
That's like old buddy from fucking New York. Tom, was it?
Jeffrey Tubin. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, he just showed his dick to the world. He was just like, hey.
No, he was jerking off.
You ever see a 4-inch hard on?
This is Dixieland After Dark. Oh my God.
Got 4 inches of hard steel.
Of liberal media.
Liberal media right there. Jeffrey Tubin doesn't sound like that at all.
Someone on TikTok, it was one of the other funny videos, was like going to living in my New York apartment and hearing thuds outside like the 1920s, and it was like hedge fund managers jumping out of fucking windows like they did during the Depression. No, the best is someone found a picture like 2008 where a bunch of like psychopathic fucking hedge fund rich like Wall Street elite were like sipping champagne and laughing at the Occupy Wall Street protesters, and I'm just like, the tables have turned. And I think the best thing was like I said before we started recording, was millennials and Zoomers are like one hedge fund a day until we get our $2,000 checks, which I hope so. I hope they hold the line. I hope they hold it, and these hedge funds go fucking bankrupt, because fuck that. They can manipulate the economy and it's business, and we try to do the same thing, and oh my fucking God, we got to regulate everything.
No, they're gonna make it where you're gonna need a license to trade stocks now.
So
wow, I can see that.
There's a certain HBO show that ran from 1999 to 2007 that had an episode in it that talked about the pump and dump on Wall Street, and there was a certain stock called Webistics, and these two Italian gentlemen were running this scheme for a bigger Italian family, and it just reminded me of that episode. It just reminded me of this. I'm not gonna say the name.
Hey Nelson.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
How long have we been recording?
Oh,
is that the fastest one?
Yep. Hey, this is gonna be one episode where I'm just gonna be like Sopranos.
Jesus Christ. Did this show even win an Emmy? Like,
yeah, it won a number of Emmy and Golden Globes and everything. Yeah,
He would know that.
he would. That's his justification for it.
It's the Wire for Italians.
It won an Emmy. That's why it's good.
It's the Wiz for Italians.
God damn.
Oh shit.
He just called that Tyler Perry's House of Pain is what he did.
Yeah.
The Sopranos The Sopranos is Tyler Perry. Hold on, wait, time out. The Sopranos, but Tony Soprano is played by Medea.
I think that'd just be a great crossover. Just in
It
general.
would have been a great fucking crossover.
Genoa, oh my lord.
Tone, what happened?
Oh my lord.
Tone, why did you turn into a black woman? I don't understand.
Oh my lord. That's the only thing.
Tone, did you have a stroke? What's happening?
Oh my lord.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Holy shit. All right. Going off that.
Are we ready to talk about Star Wars?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, what episode is this?
Yeah.
Hillbilly Allergy?
It's
No.
the Star Wars episode.
Why are people mad because there's a black person in Star Wars again?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
God, that shit was so fucking
Niggers
stupid.
in space. What is this?
Ba, 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 ba.
I'm real glad I'm here, guys.
All right. Anyway, all right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Dixieland of the Proletariat. We're going to talk about Southern working class history and current events through a leftist perspective. Make sure to like us on social media at Dixieland of the Proletariat or Dixie Pro. And if you want to give your wages to a bunch of rednecks, then subscribe to our Patreon page at patreon.com/DixiePro. Got a lot of cool stuff to give you, including CDs, stickers, a cookbook, Discord server, Twitch stream, and exclusive episodes. We also have a Spotify playlist with some great artists you also check out. This podcast is brought to you by Camel Silver's Vaping, Living at Home, Pushing People in the Swamps, and the Hard Rock Cafes. Shout out to our new Patreon subscribers, Coop, Aaron, Jacqueline, and Crystal. A monthly Patreon surplus goes to groups that are run by and or help marginalized people directly. As always, I'm Nelson with whoever wants to go
Tommy. I used my real name this time.
first. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm also Tommy.
Yes, see, he used his real name this time.
Please.
Am I supposed to carry on the joke?
Yep.
Or what?
Yep.
Okay, I'm also Tommy.
Yay!
I am Tommy. His name was
No,
Tommy.
I am Tommy.
No, I am Tommy.
We are Tommy. We are Legion.
We are gaming. We are twitching.
I hate it when you say twitching. God damn.
What? That's the twitching.
You know, I used to do a lot of Twitching back in the day when I was, whole lot of twitching.
What, were you on heroin AM? Is that what you were?
Sometimes, yeah. The orange, not the dark green.
Brought to you by Cocaine PM. Is that the same people?
Oh, God, he's gone.
I'm crying. Holy shit. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. Holy shit.
Wasn't this supposed to be like a semi-serious episode?
Yes.
We're going to be talking about fucking war.
Yes.
There goes
Yeah,
Nelson.
the Star Wars. Come on. You got to talk about how Jar Jar Binks saved the whole galaxy.
Me said Jar Jar Binks.
Secret Sith Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, he's a
Yes,
Sith. I
yes.
swear to God, he's a Sith.
Can we just go over all like the really bad Jewish stereotypes in Star Wars?
I mean, that's one of them.
And Jar Jar Binks is the most
I thought
racist
Jar Jar
fucking
Binks
character.
was black. Well, racist. Well,
Yeah.
Well, I thought, you know.
Jar Jar Binks is a
Jar Jar
modern day
Binks is
minstrel.
Like a walking like space minstrel film.
Now Harry
Me said Jar
Potter.
Jar Binks.
Harry Potter's got all the
Oh my God.
goblin
Anti-Semitic
bankers.
ones, yeah.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling is such a bitch. Like, what the
I think the best thing I ever saw, like a best clapback against J.K. Rowling, was she was like, I've always pictured Hermione as a black girl, and someone found a fucking quote from one of the Harry Potter books. It was like, as Hermione peered her pale face white as snow around the corner. Oh my God. Holy shit. All right.
Hermione's
J.K. Rowling
Clayton,
wishes
dude.
she could do a George Lucas on the Harry Potter books. She cannot go back and remaster them.
No, she can't. She can't.
Oh my God. Shit. Oh my God. All right, y'all. Holy fuck. This episode is going to be about not the Star Wars and not Florida State University, but the actual Seminole Wars.
Wait a minute. Are you saying we're not talking about Han Solo?
No, Tommy, we're not talking about Han
Then
Solo.
why did you make me watch those movies?
you wanted to watch movies and have friend time, and we ate wings.
I guess.
Which we didn't actually watch Star Wars. We watched what did we watch? The Little
TikTok.
Things. No.
The Little Things,
which is actually really good.
Yeah, it was solid.
Had y'all see One Night in Miami yet?
No, not yet.
No, not yet.
That'll
It's
be the
pretty
next
good.
movie.
All right, y'all. Okay, I got the Jews out. Let's take
Got the Jews out. What are you?
Oh,
Oh, that's it. We're done.
What?
And,
I mean, if you want to be technical,
oh my god! And the podcast is not crash and burn. All right.
I mean,
Tommy is in timeout. Tyler's in timeout during the Hillbilly episode. Tommy is in timeout this time.
do we not have a?
We're gonna bleep that, right?
Hi, Louis Farrakhan.
What? I didn't say that. You said that.
hey.
Listen,
If anybody mentions Farrakhan, you better put the words "the honorable" in front of
The
it.
Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Okay. Oh my god.
We'll just blame it on the heroin AM.
I need to take some cocaine PM is what I need.
What a shit podcast. We'll never get on NPR this way.
Oh my god. All right. Take two. Hi.
Yeah.
We're all gonna mute ourselves.
I was added to this cast for this.
Welcome to hell. We're gonna talk about the Seminole Wars and how the Seminole Nation kicked the shit out of the fucking colonizers. All right. I'm gonna mute everybody.
Okay.
Everyone's getting muted, even me. Kai, please start us off if you would like to. Thank you.
Well, I'm back to send everybody to sleep. But yeah, so we're going to be covering at least one particular battle from the Seminole Wars. However, I was brought in to talk more about the cultural side before the wars actually started, basically because I can't trust y'all to do it yourselves. So here we go. So I'm going to talk about the indigenous people of Florida around the point of European contact. Indigenous people have lived in what's now known as Florida for approximately 14,000 years, and maybe as long as 20,000 years before the time of first contact with Europeans. There are people who are now trying to find links between the first peoples of Florida and the Haudenosaunee cultures of Eastern Canada and the Great Lakes, citing the similarities between their fishing lifestyles and matrilineal clans. It could explain why there are so many similarities between the two quite disparate areas of the continent. At the time of European contact, there were more than 40 individual tribes in Florida, many with names that are still recognizable today. From the Appalachee around Tallahassee, the dominant Calusa around the Southwest, there's a reason to believe that they are culturally related to the Aztec, further proving wide-ranging trade systems. The Miami, who lent their name to modern Miami, the Tequesta, who inhabited Tampa Bay, and the Timucua, who were master traders along the eastern coast. For the record, all of the Disney parks, Universal, SeaWorld, the Orlando International Airport, all sit on Hororo land. This is actually my hometown. I grew up in Orlando. So where I grew up was also Hororo land. The Hororo are sometimes known as the Forgotten People. The landscape of Central Florida is soggy and filled with marshes and swamps, mosquitoes and alligators and venomous snakes. When contact was made, conquistadors would make little headway into the center of Florida and rarely make contact with people in the middle of the state. So records often kept by Spanish missions don't record them as much. I would like to add some information about the Hororo because they are the people my family knows a lot about. Since the Hororo are considered culturally extinct, it rests on other people to tell their histories. And that is something that my mom and uncle do as a job. My uncle lives on the site of an ancient Hororo village on the edge of Lake Tohopkilega and tells the story of the Hororo every day. The Hororo were a fishing people who made settlements at the water's edge in lake-dotted central Florida. They maintained matrilineal clan systems where chiefs were often men who could only be appointed by the oldest and most respected clan mothers. If a chief misbehaved, the clan mothers could boot him out. Women of the family are the only ones who owned property, as they owned the kitchens. All other family buildings were shared by the family or community. This type of family system gave the women institutional power. The clan mothers functioned as a check to the chief, and if no suitable chief was available, a clan mother could be instituted instead. The Hororo, as all indigenous people, found their sustenance and materials from the land around them. They ate many kinds of aquatic plants and animals, regularly hunted alligators, built with river cane, which is similar to bamboo, wove nets and made baskets, fired clay pottery, and traded with their neighbors. This is evidenced by finding ocean shells and shark's teeth, flint and chert, and sometimes gold in areas where those things don't naturally exist. So going on from there, the first contact with Europeans was made with a Spanish conquistador, Juan Ponce de Leon, in the spring of 1513, probably somewhere around St. Augustine on the northeast coast of the state. He attempted colonization in the southern part of the state 8 years later, but was quickly beaten back by indigenous attacks. He was likely shot with a poisoned or infected dart from attacking Calusa. As an aside, historians say it was in the thigh, but oral tradition within the natives of Florida means that natives have laughed about it because he was actually shot in the ass with a poisoned dart. The Spanish brought the mission system with them, much as they did in Mexico and across the Southwest US and California later. The missions functioned as religious centers, obviously, but also sought to beat the heathen out of the indigenous people and make them Catholic. Indigenous people were regularly enslaved at the missions. In 1539, Hernando de Soto landed in search of gold and silver, which is a shame because Florida has no gold or silver naturally in its ground, though there is evidence of trade in gold, probably with the Aztec, who traveled from the Yucatan Peninsula to Cuba and Florida. In 1559, another Spanish attempt at colonization was led by Tristan de Luna y Arellano, which was abandoned after only 2 years. Following French interest in colonizing Florida, the Spanish upped their attempts. Menendez founded St. Augustine, which would become the first established colonial settlement in the US in 1565. The settlement would be fought over by the Spanish and French, and eventually the Spanish and English until the mid-1700s. It is one of the hallmarks of St. Augustine that you can see the different national styles of architecture in the city spanning hundreds of years of settlement. The American Revolution saw the state then divided into two major seats, the East and the West, recaptured by Spain. Under the Spanish colonial rule, Florida became a place that indigenous and people escaping slavery would run to. The landscape prevented people who were unused to swamp from pursuing them, and the Spanish had no reason to expend their energy in helping their competitor colonies to the north. Okay, so now we're going into when the British were handed Florida. When the British evacuated Florida, Spanish colonists as well as settlers from the newly formed United States came pouring into Florida. Many of the new residents were lured by the favorable Spanish terms for acquiring property called land grants. Others who came were escaped slaves trying to reach a place where their U.S. masters had no authority and effectively could not reach them. Instead of becoming more Spanish, the two Florida states increasingly became more, quote, American. Finally, after several official and unofficial U.S. military expeditions into the territory, Spain formally ceded Florida to the United States in 1821, according to the terms of the Adams-Onis Treaty. On one of those military operations in 1818, then General Andrew Jackson made a foray into Florida. Jackson's battles with the Florida Indian people later would be called the First Seminole War, which Nelson will touch on later. However, we're going to back up just a little bit because there's things happening with the indigenous people while the colonizers are fighting over the Florida Peninsula. So when the Spanish handed Florida over to the English in exchange for Havana in 1763, some of the last known remaining indigenous people were sent to Cuba and Mexico. According to oral history, the English were concerned with any remaining Spanish and indigenous people at the handover, so they swept through the state and collected all they could find. By this point, there were only around 60 indigenous people, 60, left in the entire state. And from there, they considered the indigenous people of Florida to be culturally extinct. So in that time of repeated colonization, the indigenous people of Florida suffered greatly. Indigenous Floridians had largely died out, with some completely dying out by the mid-1700s due to hundreds of years of war and the introduction of Eurasian diseases that they had no immunity to. The indigenous population of the Florida Peninsula, estimated at around 200,000 people in 1500, is less than 3,000 today. The Seminole, who we were speaking of, trace their ancestry back to the Muskogee in Georgia and Alabama, as well as the original peoples of Florida. Common colonizer history says that the Seminole are relatively new people and only come from the Creek and Black people escaping slavery into Florida. What is considered the true history from their own stories is different, but similar. As my Uncle Little Deer says, history means his story, and indigenous people often have their own histories passed down orally. Colonizer history said that the original peoples of Florida were killed off, enslaved, or died of disease. If that was true, then how could the people escaping colonization in the North learn how to live in the unique Florida swamps? Our own histories say that the original people who survived in the swamps and marshes down into the Everglades and among the lakes and rivers welcomed and mixed with the refugees. The Seminole and the Miccosukee, for that matter, are mixed people with their history in Northern and Black refugees and the survivors of genocide in Florida. In the 1770s, this mixed group of people were collectively given the Spanish name Cimarrones, which means runaways or wild ones. And in the Muskogean language, the hard R in Cimarron is not pronounced. It's usually turned into an L, which turned into Seminole, stuff like that. And then it eventually turned into Seminole. The Seminole defiance and their willingness to harbor Black people escaping enslavement is what eventually led to the three, quote, undeclared Seminole Wars, which would prove to be a boon to the careers of both President Jackson and Taylor, both proponents of Indian removal. This led to a split in the tribe, with those escaping northern Florida or being removed to Oklahoma, and is why there are Seminole tribes in both states today. This policy of Indian removal resulted in another trail of tears, like the one most people are aware of, perpetuated against Cherokee. But this one was against the Seminoles, started earlier and lasted for about 20 years, where they were hunted, rounded up, and sent west to Arkansas or Louisiana. The land was foreign and strange to them, as much as I could pick up any American and throw them down in the South African grasslands and expect them to survive. Today, the tribe has 6 reservations. The Seminole has 6 reservations from central and into southern Florida, including the most well-known Big Cypress near Miami. I suggest when things are safer, if anyone is in South Florida, go and visit their Atatiki Museum. The tribes are now split into the Seminole and the Miccosukee and independent traditional Seminoles. In fact, I interviewed a Muskogee man about these things, and he was telling me more about their own oral history of what happened. And it actually all leads back to a older episode that these guys did over a year ago with the Creek Wars, which really precipitated the move of the Muskogee down into Florida, or the more traditionalist, what you would call red stick Muskogees, who were following Tecumseh, who came and prophesied that if they rebelled against the colonizers, that the colonizers would disappear. So he created kind of the Red Stick Rebellion with the Muskogee, also known as the Creek. And those traditionalists, after the result of the Creek War, which had really decimated their numbers and the chiefs couldn't bear to see their people die anymore, those traditionalists decided to split off and move south into Florida rather than deal with the colonial rule at that point. So it was those traditionalists, Muskogee, who joined with the people who were escaping enslavement from further north, and the few people left in Florida, the few indigenous people left in Florida to kind of create the Seminole and the Miccosukee, which are two separate tribes, united with a common language type, but it is mutually unintelligible between the two tribes. So they are not the same people. They share a lot of traditions and everything coming from original tribes further north. It is assumed that there were maybe as few as 200 people left to make the Seminole tribe as they got down into southern Florida, where the Everglades are. There is some intermarriage between these groups, but it's less than a lot of people would think because it has to do with the clan system. If the clans are in danger of losing legitimacy through intermarriage, that's usually not talked about. So that's pretty much it. The Seminole are kind of the only people who are remembered in Florida today. There is the Miccosukee. We do have the Seminole mascot for Florida State University. I'm not going to get into the tall weeds of that here because I don't want to make any enemies with any Seminole. So yeah, I guess that's the history of what was going on with them until the Seminole Wars. Nelson?
Woo! Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna drag this out. So there's 3 Seminole Wars, right? So it's like it's one.
Yeah. You got A New Hope. You got Empire Strikes Back, and you got whatever that other one is.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, there you go.
Who would be Darth Vader? It's got to be Jackson, right? Jackson's Darth Vader.
Oh, I don't know. Jackson's the big bad.
Yeah, Jackson's Palpatine.
Jackson's Palpatine. And Zachary Taylor is Darth Vader then.
There we go.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, after I put everybody to sleep, now we got to talk about Star Wars. Let's go.
Oh, God, your stuff is always the most thought out, well put together, intellectual segment of each podcast. We just like dick around and like I have like 2 pages of bullet points I'm gonna put together as a thing. But like we've said before, and we'll continue to say, there's a lot more to what we're talking about, especially stuff that I'm talking about. Kai does everything, is an amazing researcher. I am touching on like the main points, some YouTube videos and articles that I've read in my spare time. But if anyone wants to learn more about the Seminole Wars, there's some really great videos out there. There's really great articles from legitimate sources that are not just.
Listen to the first episode of the podcast if you want to learn more about it.
It's the second episot.
No, the
first episode's about coal mining.
Yep, listen to that.
And then, but there's a lot of cool stuff out there, like history on the Seminole Wars that are not from like a majority settler colonizer viewpoint. They get the actual history of what happened, because like I'm going to talk about, the U.S. has a great way of rewriting history to make them look like, hey, we won, but we didn't. All right, so you got the first and second Seminole Wars. So basically in 1817, November 30th, the Seminoles, who were weary of white settlers encroaching, attacked the U.S. gunboat. Andrew Jackson, the devil himself, was sent into Florida. I can't remember if he was sent or if he went in on his own. I think originally they like gave him like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, hey, go take care of this. But then like he, in his psychopathic, fucking insane, just evil way, took it the next step. So he goes into Florida with 2,000 soldiers, including Creek allies, and they cross into Florida and they start burning villages and re-enslaving runaway black slaves, right? So the Seminoles are outnumbered at this point, and they're like fleeing. They go into the Panhandle and they're fleeing from the Panhandle into the peninsula of Florida, right? So Andrew Jackson decides to capture and execute two British officers, and he captures Pensacola and kicks out the Spanish governor. And this not only angers Spain, but also angers Britain, and it also angers the U.S. government, because it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you totally like fuck this shit up, and you're not supposed to do this, and you're just really just fucking everything up right now. But Spain was like, oh no, and they end up selling Florida to the U.S. for the equivalent of $5 million, like at the time $5 million in 1821. Yeah. And so in 1823, the Treaty of Moultrie Creek, which forces the Seminole into central Florida, and white people do what white people do best, and they keep raiding villages, which pisses the fuck off the Seminoles and leads us to the Second Seminole Wars in 1835. But before then, Jackson is now president. You have the Indian Removal Act. And in 1832, the U.S. Army lies and says that the Seminole chiefs signed the Treaty of Payne's Landing and forged their signatures. And the Seminoles are like, we didn't fucking sign this treaty, dude. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And the U.S. is like, oh, no, you did. It's right here. And they're like, that's not our signatures, you fucking assholes. So they're just like, well, fuck you. And they end up 150 Seminoles ambush a U.S. convoy that was led by Major Dade, and only 2 U.S. soldiers survived. Right. So out of like, I don't know how many people were with him. I think it was a good number, but only 2 of them survived. And that will be a continuing trend throughout, that the Seminoles really, really, really use their, what we would call guerrilla tactics, like their way of warfare, and just decimate fucking the U.S. Army. So what we have here now is on Christmas Day in 1837, 400 plus Seminoles gather at Lake Okeechobee, and they plan to slay Colonel Zachary Taylor, who had a reputation as Indian killer. So basically the U.S. government was like, hey man, you're the guy that we're going to send in. You're like Jackson 2.0, and you're going to go down there and you're going to do what you do best. And it didn't really work out that way. So Colonel Zachary Taylor at his disposal had 70 Delaware Indians, 180 Tennessee volunteers, and 800 U.S. infantry. So basically what happens, they come to this battle at Lake Okeechobee, and Seminole marksmen wait in the trees and the tall grass. It's really, really, if you're not like Kai, you know, because you grew up in Florida, and like we know because we're in the South and the swampland, but like the grass is very, very tall. And it's one of those things where you can't really, if you're not used to it, you can't really see what the hell is going on. You're like, what? So they use that as their advantage, because Zachary Taylor's like, I'm just going to send troops in. And that didn't work out, because right when Zachary Taylor sends the troops in, the Delaware are like, nope. And they get the fuck out. It's like, fuck these crackers. We're getting out of this shit. The Tennessee.
Nelson, real quick.
Yeah.
Let me get a short background on the Delaware Indian. Like, why were they?
I don't necessarily have that. Kai, do you have any knowledge of that?
The only thing that I could really add is that this early on into kind of colonization and making alliances with any of these particular colonizers, be it the Spanish, the French, the English, eventually the Americans, is that at that point, the wholesale destruction wasn't always evident. And there were certain tribes, like you learned with the second episode about the Creek Wars, is that there was a certain element of some of these tribes who figured that they could survive better by allying with the colonizers. And that only works as far as the colonizer is willing to see you as a human. So once you've outlived your usefulness, you get kicked out as well. So I assume that would probably be the deal, is that these Delaware were like, well, if we ally with these Americans, then maybe we can secure our own safety in our own homelands, which happened quite often and didn't work out for, I think, anybody. But that's only an assumption.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Guy. But yeah, they noped the fuck out of there. They're like this. They saw like what was going to happen, and they were like, "This is not going to end well." Because right after they said nope and fucking left, the good old Tennessee, good old boy volunteers, they were like, "Hell yeah, brother, we're gonna get in there, woo!" And let's see, we had 180 Tennessee volunteers, right? So they storm ahead until all their officers and NCOs were killed. So I want to like put this in perspective, right? I'm not a military person. I don't know how many NCOs and see in office like COs that they had. I had to look up those terms, right? I'm not a military person, but basically that is like all their officers, like from sergeants and up. So basically the sharpshooters looked for the insignia and capped anyone that was above a private. And that put them in a complete disarray. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. So like they were like, what the hell are we doing? And then they retreat. So then Zachary Taylor's just like, what the fuck am I going to do? So he orders the Tennessee said nope, and they left. So then Zachary Taylor's left with his 800 U.S. infantry troops. So he orders the 6th, 4th, and his own 1st regiment to charge, right? The Seminole do again what they do best, and they killed every single officer, right, except one. That's every single CO was killed except for one, and then most of the NCOs left except for 4 that were untouched. So you had every single officer, like lieutenant and up, right, done, and then you had all their sergeants except for 4. I don't know if they're corporals or whatever were a thing, but like they're all done. So basically anyone that wasn't a private. So they basically, what they did is they would pick out the leadership and they would take them out. And that's what happened during the Revolutionary War, right? Is militia people, but also the indigenous people that sided with Britain against the U.S., they would find who had officer status. Like that's like a thing in like this type of warfare. That like you pick off the officers because the regular troops are just like, what the fuck are we doing? Because we don't know what we're doing. So basically, at the end of the day, on Christmas Day, Colonel Taylor, let's see what I have here. So he has 112 wounded, right? Is 26. What do I have here? 112 wounded. Oh yeah, okay. So there's seven dead settlers for every one Seminole Indian, right? So 7-to-1 ratio. So I have here 26 dead, 112 wounded, right? So that kill to death ratio is insane. Like the Seminoles barely didn't lose anyone, and they decimated the white people. So after 2 hours of fighting, the Seminole Nation is like, all right, we did our hit. We won because we fucking killed most of them. It's a guerrilla tactic, so it's really hit and run. So they decimated the army, and then they got out because they know that like they are outnumbered. And so like they hit and they run. So 2 hours later they leave. And this is where history gets it's like what your uncle said, his story, right? Because the U.S. this is Zachary Taylor literally is like tail between his legs trying to get back to the nearest fort. And he's just like, oh yeah, we won. we won. And I have to give a shout out. My friend Trent, who listens to the podcast, he loves the podcast and calls me up after he listens to every episode on the way home from work. And he's like, that is the whitest shit ever. Just saying like, oh yeah, we won. Well, we didn't win. It's Trent. I think that's what he said. If he wasn't, I'm sorry, but it was something to that extent. It's like, it's like, that's some typical white folk shit. Fucking like say we won when we really didn't. And at the end of the Second Seminole War, it cost the U.S. military 1,500 U.S. soldiers and 40 million pre-Civil War dollars. Now I don't understand the meaning of like pre-Civil War dollars, but it's $40 million back then is a lot of fucking money. And so then we get to the Third Seminole Wars, and there's not a lot of stuff really on the Third Seminole Wars because it only lasted about 2 years. And so basically what ends up happening is Chief Billy Bowlegs raids near Fort Myers. And basically what happens is that the U.S. pushes the remaining Seminoles back into Big Cypress Swamp, right? But the thing is that an estimated 500 refused to leave, like deep in the Everglades, and they consider themselves the only nation that was not completely conquered and moved out west, right? So the people that are still, I think, the people that are still there today are descendants from the people who were like, we're not fucking leaving.
Right.
And so that's basically it. I mean, you had white incursion on the land. Obviously, the white settlers were like, hey, we want this. But then like the Seminoles were like, no, fuck you, we're staying. And that's basically what we have today. And now they own all the Hard Rock cafes and they have bukus of money, which is dope.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows that the Seminole tribe owns all of the Hard Rock cafes, I think, except for London. And I'm not sure if they might have acquired that. I don't know.
I heard it was. I worked at a summer camp, and one of my campers was Seminole, and he said they owned all of them except for the one in Las Vegas. And that was back in like 2011, so they might have actually acquired that one since. But yeah, so that's a rundown of the battle of all three Seminole Wars. I'll post the links and stuff in the description, because I think during the first one is when you have really you see the biracial, like the indigenous and then black free and like the former enslaved, like coming together and beating back Jackson fighting Jackson to an extent, but Jackson ends up winning with like overwhelming numbers, but they do hand him some defeats, which is nice. But like the thing is that people are now going back and realizing that like, hey, Zachary Taylor didn't actually win like the second Seminole Wars. Like it's bullshit, and which is a really good thing. And the Zen Project has good articles about it, and I found a number of them on YouTube that were like, hey, really basically what happened was the U.S. lied a lot, and they didn't win, and it was absolutely bullshit, and the Seminoles kicked their ass.
That's basically what happens constantly in Indigenous history.
Hey, do you think like all the fuck shit that happened in Florida, do you think there's like, I don't want to use the word like curse or anything, but do you think it's just bad karma is the reason why Florida's the way it is right now?
There are several levels to this. I don't know how much you want to get into it.
Is Florida man a direct cause of the Seminole Wars? Did the Seminole Nation cause Florida man?
I want to say yes as a hot take, but I don't think so. Okay, so the reason you got things like Florida man is because of Florida's laws about privacy and reporting on crimes and who has done those things. That's why you have this. Also, Florida has, I think, the fourth largest population in the United States. So you have a very high population, a very disparate population in several different areas. We have very Democratic leaning areas. We have very Republican leaning areas. There's so much contained in this one state.
Yeah. And it's humid as fuck. So
yeah, and that makes you nuts in the middle of the summer when it's like, oh, it's only 99 degrees, but we have 99% humidity, and everybody just goes crazy.
Yeah, dude, humidity will make you do some shit. Like it'll make you do some shit. Like once you factor in humidity, you'll be like, okay, I get it, Florida. I get it.
Yeah. So like there's that layer. You have the heat. You have the laws, because Florida, when it comes to laws, Florida is kind of the Wild West. Florida lets lots of shit slide. So even like weird things like what kind of animals you can own almost everything in Florida, which is why we end up with like people who own tigers and shit around there.
And I saw tiger saw man.
With Mexico, you got like the white kids go down there, they get really shitty off the tequila, they end up throwing up that's Montezuma's revenge. Is meth kind of like Tecumseh's revenge?
No, he was Shawnee and Muskogee. He's from further north. We would have like Chief Osceola, Billy Bowlegs. It would be their revenge.
Wait, where did Tommy disappeared? Anyway, so Billy Bowlegs, Chief Bowlegs is like probably the greatest fucking name I found. I think that's
the Seminole have some great naming traditions.
Yeah, that would be a hellacious name for a country singer.
My name is Billy Bowlegs.
Like, I'm not Seminole. I didn't do all of this to like talk about my own people. I grew up in Florida. My people are not from Florida. So most of what I know is like ancient history of Florida. And I don't want to make any I don't know, resentment with them. I don't want them to resent me for talking about this, but yeah, they have great naming conventions like that. There was Wildcat as well. Wildcat was one of the freedom fighters in Southern Florida. Just some really great names like that. And I don't know, maybe it is the meth, maybe it's the heat. Maybe it's the Wild West laws. I don't know what it is.
Maybe they're born with it. Maybe it's just karma for pillaging.
Maybe they're born with it. Maybe it's crystal meth. But no, people don't realize how like hot the fucking South is. Like, like the deep South, and then even into Florida. Like, it's just
it is the last day of January, and I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, it's
hot.
Yeah, it's the South in July and August is the worst fucking time of year.
I spent many Christmas days back in Florida, like going out swimming because it was warm enough.
Hell yeah! I don't want to know where the hell Tommy disappeared. I think they got him, y'all. I think the FBI.
Al Gore finally caught up with Tommy.
Kai, did you want to talk more about your thing about the Muskogee that you talked to, or do you want to?
No, I interviewed somebody, and mostly I wanted to ask him if there's any misinformation out there that he wanted corrected. He did give us some information. There have been some talks, like in the back channel, about maybe redoing the Creek War episode. Welcome back, Tommy. There has been some talk about redoing the Creek War episode, so I do have more information for that as well.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll be relevant to some other time, but it's basically, he told me about what precipitated them moving down into Florida, basically being the Creek War. And it was the traditionalists, the ones who were not practicing chattel slavery, the ones who were not assimilating with the colonizers, who decided, we're done. We're moving south. We cannot bear to see our people killed more. And that's usually what precipitated most of the large movements that were not based on the United States or whatever colonizer saying you need to get out of this land. It was usually based on a leader saying, look, I'm tired of seeing my people getting killed, so we're just going to move on our own. This happened a lot in the West, in the north part of the Midwest, so up in the Dakotas and Montana, lots of the tribes there, because the borders were not here for us. They would just move up into Canada, where it's not like there was less persecution up in Canada. It's just that it was wild land. So there was fewer people out there to persecute them. And it would take longer for American troops to go up into Canada to find them. It's basically what happened down into Florida. And what you have to remember is that the Southeast, Florida in particular, the islands around Florida, all in the Caribbean, out into the Atlantic, those are some of the areas first colonized. So these are some of the areas that were hardest hit with the Eurasian diseases first. So it had a longer time to decimate the people there, had a longer time to kill off so many people that I think there's a story that came out recently that so many people died in North America due to colonization that it changed the climate. Yeah.
Holy shit.
I can find that later and send that to you guys. But yeah, there's some proof that so many people died that it changed the climate. So you have this very early incursion of diseases, very early being targeted by first it was mostly the Spanish. And the way that the Spanish colonized was not always the same as the way that the British colonized. And the Spanish were more about taking slaves and really beating the people down into either being Catholic or dying. That was it. And there's stories about people who refused to become part of their mission systems and ended up committing mass suicide because it was so terrible for these people. So because this is all happening very early on, you get more instances of these tribes assimilating in the Southeast, which is how you come up with things like the 5 civilized tribes. They're called so. That doesn't mean they were civilized. Most of them got along by assimilating and practicing chattel slavery. So they assimilated early on, and that's how, to this day, talking about Southeastern indigenous history is quite difficult because a lot of these things happened so much earlier than the recorded evidence that happened further to the west and further north and all that. So that's one of the reasons why I think you guys invited me on here, is because talking about Southeastern indigenous history is very difficult to find. It's so difficult to find the sources on it because it happened so early and people weren't necessarily taking the notes then. We do have some notes from Spanish missionaries, and as they, like in Florida, because Florida changed colonizer hands so many times. I think it changed 4 times between the Spanish and the British before it became American. Like so many times, there were so many different colonizer hands handing it over that you have big gaps in the history. You have big gaps in what tribes existed. You have big gaps in where they were and what their trade routes were like, because what history was recorded would only be kept between, like the Spanish don't want the British to know what they know about the indigenous people. Why would they hand over those records? So that's what makes telling this history very, very difficult. And I'm very thankful that you invited me for this one so we can get some of it out there. But that's basically when I talked to this person to interview them, this is what he wanted to be said so that we didn't have a bunch of misinformation going out.
And then we also have you on because we love you. And
well, there's that too.
And you're a part of us now. You're not. You're one of us. But yeah. Also because I think that
out with the jitters.
And I think what
somebody said jitters.
I think that
Nelson said jitters.
I talked about this on TikTok because we have a TikTok now. But
and he's obsessed. Everybody go, please.
Oh, was that a shameless plug?
It's a shameless plug.
At Dixie Pro on TikTok.
At Dixie Pro on TikTok.
No, when I was on TikTok. Oh, we have a TikTok.
But no, for
you
real
know how
though,
I'm TikTok famous, right?
Oh my God. I think that people.
We got TikTok until Nelson accidentally Jeffrey Tubin's himself on
it. Hey Nelson, do we have a TikTok?
Wait, there's a podcast?
Wait, Nelson, we have a TikTok?
Yeah, it's called at Southern Soprano.
That, yeah.
It's launching with our Tumblr.
Bebo's coming back. We're going to be on there too.
Dude, we got a Zanga.
Yeah.
We got a fucking Zanga.
What were you trying to say, Nelson?
Hit me up at the Dixie Pro Vampire Freaks page.
I do think we should have an OnlyFans. Like it definitely not. It doesn't. It's not going to be a not safe for work.
Fucking OnlyFans.
But it's just going to be like people who want to subscribe to our OnlyFans for like dirt cheap, and it's just like I want a one-on-one conversation with member X, and then you'd be like, hey, what's up?
We did have people that were willing to pay for a calendar.
That is true. We did have people that were willing to pay for a calendar.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'll show Yeeks on the OnlyFans.
I was ready to do that calendar, but Tyler said he would pay for it, and then when I gave him my estimate from my guy, he said, nah. And
that was right around the time of COVID when the bottom fell out, Nelson. And
that is true.
I work in the service industry. I don't.
That is true. Listen, don't high road me with that service industry bullshit. I was right there with you until my guy decided to not abide by social
distancing. Until you turn coded.
I left. I fucking left because that asshole did not give a shit. And after I left, 5 servers got COVID. So anyway, what I was gonna say is that people still have that don't listen to the podcast still have this misconception that the South is a monolith and that not just that it's majority white and that not only do black voices only come out of the South when we talk about A, civil rights, or B, sports, or C, hip hop, but the indigenous voices are just are assumed to be non-existent because everyone thinks that, they rounded up everyone and shipped them to Oklahoma. But we just did a whole podcast on how the Seminole tribe said, no, we're staying. And I think that like you said, there is a history that is not there that needs to be told, and there needs to not be this misconception that that history is not here, that there's a misconception that these people are not here because they are, and tends to get swept under the rug for this everyone just talks about one aspect of history when there's so many aspects of Southern history that need to be told. And I think everybody on the podcast now brings a certain element to that and a different perspective that each one cannot see. Yeah, Tommy, I see your fan. I can do my little my little chops in there. I can give my little slide comments.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So, but yeah,
about to gobble your last fucking ghoul.
When he said that, when Hassan Piker said that shit about Chris Cuomo just going in on the fucking Robin Hood dude, he's like, I'm about to gobble your last fucking ghoul over here. Holy shit, dude. The Cuomos are your quintessential Italian brothers that just talk mad shit, but then have a platform where millions and millions of people watch these two Italian brothers just go at it. I'm like, no, mine loves me more. No, my pasta's better. And it's just like, oh my God.
Doesn't that one Cuomo have nipple piercings?
Dude, Governor Cuomo definitely has nipple piercings. I love how we can get really serious and then go to like fucking just off the rails insanity.
Dude, fucked for sure.
Dude,
Definitely fucked.
we're going to start Patreon only episodes. We have one already recorded, and we discussed a conspiracy theory about the Titanic that no one has ever come up with yet. And I think it's
that.
true.
I say we do the Patreon where every Patreon's an episode with us interviewing Joe Biden.
It starts out with us interviewing Joe Biden.
I think we had a Joe Biden segment in that one, didn't we?
We did. No, we did have a Joe Biden segment.
Yeah, and I had so many people asking me, who was that? Was that you? Was that Tommy? Was that Will?
The episodes, I'm not going to be like, you have to pay an ungodly amount of money for the episodes. I think the episodes are probably going to be like some of the lowest tiers. So like fucking, and then also we got the Twitch.
$40 an episode, you can afford it.
And then we got the Twitch stream coming up, which is Tommy's baby, which is going to be fucking hilarious.
Live mics, everybody, live mics.
Oh yeah, live mics. Tyler, don't look it up. Don't look up like that. Don't be salty. We're just giving you shit. Just break your balls over here. Okay, all the time y'all shit on me and the things I love.
I'm gonna get Twitch banned.
No, I think the best is when speaking of Indigenous history, when we like do critiques of like Pocahontas.
Oh my God!
And Dances with Wolves.
Critiques. Those biographies. Those documents.
Those historical documents.
Documents.
Come on.
Where it's just me screaming apoplectically at this terrible movie.
The only historically.
I thought Dancing with Wolves was like found footage.
It's actually a horror movie.
What did I say? I was like, why should I watch Dances with Wolves? I just watch Avatar.
Ooh, yeah, same movie.
Same movie, just more CGI. I think the only historically accurate part of Pocahontas is when the chief goes, "These white men are dangerous."
These white men are dangerous.
It's like when foreshadowing events to come.
Listen, the white man just wanted love. Like, don't you guys get it?
Yeah, forget that. Like John Smith is like in his 40s and Pocahontas is a teenager.
She was 12.
12.
Not even a teenager yet. She was 10 when they arrived. Man, okay, we got to save this for the episode because I'm not going to get it all the way now.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Dude, you guys are ageist.
I hate old people. That is my one hot take. That is my one.
Oh my God.
We're saving it for the. No, I am 100% ageist, and I'm saving this for the Patreon only episodes. Subscribe to our Patreon. We got some cool shit coming.
What is old to you? What is like? What
boomers. Boomer and up.
Nelson, oh my God. But you can't say that about your poor mother. She's so hot.
I can say that about my mom.
No.
Now your mom wants to do land back. As far as I'm concerned, she's cool.
Oh my God, that shit. I can tell that on here because okay. I was gonna say this for a Patreon only episode, but so my mom and I, like the good Italian son I am, we do mother and son activities sometimes when she's not annoying.
We go on dates too.
Tommy's my stepdad. And basically what we went up to Horseshoe Bend, right? Because it's a national park on top of that, but it's a really nice hiking trail. And my mom goes hiking with some people and she got lost one time on this other trail. And she was like, I want to get lost again. I was like, Mom, it's a loop. You can't get lost. And she was like, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So we get about a third of the way to the trail and it comes to, the site where the wall was, we talked about in the episode where Andrew Jackson had cannons, and there's a big granite stone that's like, this is where Andrew Jackson fought, blah, 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 blah. And they have like one little positive thing to say about the creeks. And then there's Major Montgomery's buried there. And just out of the blue, I was like, hey Mom, look at that. And she looks at the granite monument, like praising Jackson. She's like, my mom sounds like one of Marge's sisters from The Simpsons, right? Like a little bit better than like in between like Marge Simpson and her sisters, right? So she's like, That's so fucking stupid. Why are they praising Andrew Jackson? He was a bad man. And then we get down to the General Montgomery's grave. And my mom was like, why the hell is he buried here? That's so stupid. What did he do? He fired his gun one time and got killed? That's nothing to be proud of. What the hell is he here for? And then she like looks out into the battlefield. She's like, give this land back to the Indians. We don't fucking give it back to the Indians. This is their land. They should have it. And like my mouth drops because like my 68-year-old Italian first generation mother like understands land back more than some leftists do.
Yes, people, that was an Italian accent, just so we can clear that up. We don't want
she's Italian.
Italian. No.
No, she does sound like a character sometimes. She looks like an older Lorraine Bracco from fucking.
Your mom's kind of hot, Nelson. I'm gonna be honest.
Listen, she has the body of Marissa Tomei and the voice of Whitey Duvall. Like it is.
She does.
I thought you were about to say Whitey Bulger.
My mom does remind me of Marissa Tomei and my cousin Vinny. But no, it was crazy. Mom was like, give this land back to the Indians. And I was
What the fuck are y'all doing with it? No, you're just walking around.
I was like, what the fuck? It was like my mom just like straight up went land back, just like hard left and just like more so and understood it better. Like I said, the most like white leftist, she was just like, just give it back. And I was like, damn, mom, all right, cool. And like I think Kai was the first person I told.
I think he texted me like when you got back to your car. My mom just went land back.
My mom just went straight up land back at Horseshoe Bend. And she wouldn't get, then I said that like, well, the Muskogee come back and every year they do a ceremony about the battle and they do traditional dancing and things like that. And my mom was like, I would love to see that. And like my mom would straight up tell like probably like reenactors like dressed up as fucking like U.S. troops to like get the fuck out of there. My mom would straight up be like, what are you doing here, this stupid thing? This is the Indian land. What are you doing? And like would chase all of them out with a fucking rolling pin.
Yeah, she can stay.
My mom can stay. Oh man. All right, so Tommy's my stepdad. My mom is Marissa Tomei and Whitey Bulger.
Whitey, well, yeah.
Whitey from 8 Crazy Nights. That's a technical foul.
That's Whitey Duvall.
Duvall.
Whitey Bulger's a murderer.
He was a Fed. Oh my god. Real quick, can we just no, we're gonna save for. Should we shave the Proud Boy bullshit for a Patreon episode, or can we just like bullshit about that for like real quick?
It's good.
Kai, hold on, time out, Kai. This is your episode. What do you?
No, I think it should be saved for the other one.
Let's save
Not
it.
because it's going to infringe on this, but because you do need stuff for the other one.
Oh my god, it's so good. Oh my god, those fascists are so fucking stupid. All right, y'all. Well, this is great. I think this is cool. This reminded me a lot of originally what we had planned for this podcast. So, in general. So,
any questions?
Yeah. Tommy's got some. Tommy's got some editing to do in the beginning. leave all the shit from like whatever, but take out the the Louis Farrakhan bit.
Whoa! The honorable
Louis Farrakhan bit. Them bean pies, brother.
I do have a question.
Are you trying to say, Tyler?
Oh yeah. After Tyler.
Hey, matter of fact, you know what, Tommy? Don't edit that shit. Look. 200,000 years ago, General Monk marched these fucking albinoids across into West Asia.
Yakub.
You ain't got to edit shit for these albinoids.
I'm a direct descendant from Yakub. My head is fucking big, yo. I'm an albinoid person.
He marched them 200,000 miles. They walked the entire way.
Facts. That's right.
To the Caucasus Mountains. Fuck them.
That's right. And they never should have let us off, but they did. They made a mistake. Remember when they said the devil was supposed to be locked away for 1,000 years? See, the revelation has already happened, and we're the mark of Cain. We're the offspring of the devil. Anyway, Tommy.
What was your question?
Oh yeah, what planet was this on? Was this on Endor? I heard talk of Paul Brad.
I fucking died.
No, okay, what's the one that was in Rogue One? The like beach planet.
The beach planet?
Oh yeah, where the Wookiees, right? That's where all the Wookiees were.
I can't remember who was it. It's the one in Rogue One where they're like they had like sand troopers.
Oh fuck! Yeah. I don't know.
And then it blew up.
Misa Jar
Gotcha.
Jar Binks.
That planet.
Oh, Tatooine?
No,
Oh God. You just
you know, like 2 planets. Don't
Misa
you?
Jar Jar
I'm gonna be honest. I only know like 2 planets. I was just in that Endor and Tatooine. That's how I knew he was wrong.
Black people only exist.
Oh, Hoth. Hoth is a planet.
There's
Yeah, there's Hoth and Alderaan, which was blown up.
There's one black person per Star Wars episode. The original was Lando, right? And then Samuel L. Jackson, and then the British guy.
John Boyega.
John, yeah.
He's not fucking around. You better get that right.
John
Boyega was here leading BLM protests.
Yeah.
Saying like, I don't care if I never get a job in Hollywood again.
He one saved Star Wars, and 2 was probably one of the only actors with a fucking backbone. That was dope.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I like him.
He's gonna get work.
So how do y'all think Judas and the Black Messiah is going to go next month?
I can't wait to see it.
God, I hope. Yeah, I want to see it. And oh my God, we should definitely movie night that shit.
Yeah.
We'll set it up. So
Super excited for that.
Yeah. I really want that movie to be good, and I really don't want it to be like some whitewash bullshit. Like I really want it to be good.
Gonna be some propaganda.
What's the actor's name that plays Fred Hampton? Sounds just like him.
Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya or something like that.
Yeah.
God, that movie's gonna be so good. I want it to be good. I want it to be good so
he's
bad.
the dude from Queen and Slim.
And Get Out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I watched Queen and Slim for the first time about 3 weeks ago, and I just noticed the racist cop who shot him, who they shot in Queen and Slim, is played by Sturgill Simpson.
No way.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Well, all right, y'all. Any more questions? Anything we else want? It's not Star Wars related. It's a legitimate thing.
I mean, the episode was about Star Wars. What other questions would we have?
What if George
Obviously.
Lucas, instead of the Roman Empire, like what if George Lucas actually modeled Star Wars off the Seminole Wars? Like he's actually like a really big like Seminole like historian.
I mean, if he did, it wouldn't be bad. Sorry, Star Wars is bad. I said it.
I don't see the hype
It's not
from it.
bad.
I get that it was groundbreaking back in the day, but like, oh Lord, the
Disney
prequels.
did a better job with it than anyone else.
They just repeated the same original 3. Okay, let's talk about this on the fucking Patreon episode.
They're all bad.
Cut. Let's go,
Cut.
and then we can talk
All
about
right,
the
y'all.
other shit.
At Dixieland, the proletariat, we believe the South will rise again, but this time for the right reasons, those being worker-owned means of production, decolonization, and self-determination for all oppressed peoples. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on social media at Dixie Prole. We are coming to you from the birthplace of the Civil Rights Movement, Montgomery, Alabama, and the United Kingdom. We would also like to recognize we're recording on land that is occupied and rightfully belongs to the Muskogee Nation. As always, Tyler's here, so you can send us off with the catchphrase heard around the world when it comes to the podcast. Tyler, take it away.
Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll see y'all next time.
Oh, that's how it goes.